Raymond A. Brown was first and foremost my father, but he was so much more than that to so many people. And it's hard to know the moment at which that became clear, but a story that I've been telling over the years, and I hate to use the word story because this is really true, was a day in 1960 when I recall him being at NAACP headquarters and telling the folks in Jersey City that it was important that we participate in a boycott of Woolworths. And his rationale was twofold. The first was that it was necessary to show solidarity with the kids at Greensboro and other places in the South who were sitting in at lunch counters that were segregated. But his other point was that black people in Jersey City needed to overcome their fear, because in the 50s and the 40s, black men who challenged the machine were assassinated. And so he gave a speech in which the refrain was, "Fear no man," because his view was that fear was the greatest enemy to all of us, but especially to those who were oppressed. And I'll never forget, he gave that speech to about 250 people at the NAACP headquarters on Forest Street in Jersey City, and then started marching down Jackson Avenue, which later became Martin Luther King Boulevard. And there were only 4 people behind him out of the 250, and one was me, who didn't really know any better. I was a kid at the time. Fred Martin and Lucille Wallace, who was the first black woman on the police force of Jersey City. And she was a big, hip woman with a strong voice, and she would beckon to people at the windows, "Come down and join us." But that first picket line was later joined by Addison McLeon and 1 or 2 other people, but essentially there were about 6 of us and about 50 Jersey City policemen who were not there to protect us, but to intimidate us. And I recall the notion that he spoke about so clearly to people was, at the end of the day, our greatest enemy is fear. And when I saw his capacity to be fearless in the face of historical forces that paralyzed other men, it began to dawn on me, I guess I was a little slow to realize it, that this was a human being who was more than my dad, more than a great lawyer, but a remarkable leader and the greatest human being I ever knew. The entire family is very grateful that an award is being named after my dad, and he would, in his own way, appreciate this honor. But it's important to note, in the interest of candor, that while he did set great store by grace, in fact, generally, when he received an award, it was an opportunity to tell people exactly what they needed to do in terms of the freedom struggle. Many is the day that the audience who gave him an award wound up in tears at the end of it, because he was not hesitant to talk about all of our failures in being sufficiently concerned about the least of these or about the long struggle for freedom. He also appreciated recognition, as do other people, and we in the family appreciate the fact that there's been such an outpouring of support and care from the community since he died in October of '09. And we especially appreciate that the Lawyers Organization for African Americans in the state has dedicated this award to him and sought to honor him, a person without whom many of us would not be around, engaged in the practice of law and understanding the nature of the freedom struggle as we do.